Is there anything you'd like to discuss today?
Actually, no, I'm pretty interested about your setup, um, and how you work, and how the process looks itself, and maybe I'll just learn something from it.
Okay.
That's my main goal today. Yeah.
So if anything doesn't make sense to you, please ask.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, we're actually pretty far into uh, the task already, so I guess some introduction is in order. So originally this stream was about adding uh, railroad diagrams to Python documentation, but there's a lot of detours, so diagrams are shelved right now.
Oh, okay.
And the goal right now is to uh, make the grammar documentation uh,
Yeah,
better
yeah,
conform
yeah.
to what the actual grammar is, right?
So like those, so like when you have the documentation of particular, in particular topics, like the sixth chapter expressions, or
Yeah,
um, yeah,
so
there.
these,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the change I'm working on right now, or we were working on that last week with Blaze, is
Mm-hmm.
let's see the source here. So currently we use production lists which are built-in Sphinx features, and
Mm-hmm.
they're pretty limited. Uh, they use this colon equals to separate the rule name and whatever comes after it. You can't change that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they also align the contents. So if there's a
Okay.
long name here, there's not a lot of space left for the contents here, and we found out that having more more space for these usually makes them look better, right?
Oh, okay.
So we would like to uh, move to something that looks like the actual grammar, which or well, this full grammar specification, which uses a
Mm-hmm.
slightly different syntax where you uh, there's just a colon instead of the colon equals, and if there's a
Mm-hmm.
multi-line rule, it
Mm-hmm.
looks like a it looks more like a Python block, right? There's a colon, and then there's this indented block, and if there's
Yeah. Also kind of
alternatives,
like
you have
YAML,
these.
maybe?
Yeah, well, YAML's inspired by Python
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Right. And if there are multiple choices, each one of them is preceded by this pipe character, right?
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
the problem is the Sphinx doesn't really allow that nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so one thing we did is build a Sphinx extension. It's called grammar
Mm-hmm.
snippet directive, where if you
Mm-hmm.
write grammar snippet in the documentation, uh, I don't know if this is actually in the code I'm using right now. Let me grab for that. Right, so I use it in top level components. Top level components. There should be 2 dots, not 3. So for file input and interactive input, it's used right now. So let's look there. Right. So there we go. So this is how the new thing looks. You can notice that there's no colon equals. There's also
Uh-huh.
an error here because the syntax is wrong. Let me rebuild that. Things
Yeah, all right.
always takes
Yeah.
a while. There was an extra dot, so that's not a problem. Right, so this is what we want. And the idea is that if you use grammar snippet, whatever you write in the body of the directive pretty much shows up in the documentation. Right, the only special character is this and these backticks, which also show up in production lists, and these get turned into links to other rules. So this statement link still works to the old style documentation. But otherwise, what you write there gets put in the docs, which is perfect. The problem is, if we did this, we'd need to send a giant pull request changing every production list to grammar snippet at once. Otherwise, the docs would be inconsistent. Some would use this symbol and some would use that symbol. And that's...
I mean, I'm slightly like not yet familiar very well with like the formal semantics of this, because like what I thought that it does is like read the actual grammar and then produce those snippets as docs. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that code exists in a branch, but the first step will be to do this, like to put in something that could be auto-generated, or maybe not, right?
Okay.
So
yeah. So
the problem with this is we'll also need to change the prose around that to match what is here, right? Because the text can refer to what was here, and if we just auto-generate everything and replace it, it'll make the docs worse, right? So the first step here is to improve the formatting. Then the next step will be to go through all of the documentation and adjust the text, and look at, well, try to match what the actual grammar is, right? There are some issues with that, but I think we can match it reasonably well. And in that process, we'll also find where the automatic generation could be improved, where it's bad, where it's unreadable, where it would be better if a human wrote it, and depending on how that goes, we can auto-generate.
I mean, this approach makes a lot of sense because the documentation at the end of the day is from humans to humans, right? So it should be as readable as possible, and that's the top priority.
Definitely. Well, I would say the top priority is being correct.
Oh, yeah, true.
So it should be correct. It should also be readable. The problem with hand-maintained documentation that is not really linked to the actual grammar is that it gets out of date. So some of the current documentation isn't actually formally correct. Right.
Okay.
And I'm fine with not being formally correct 100% of the time. I mean, if you want that, you probably want to read this file or the actual file in the sources, which is even more complicated. But we should be clear about the simplifications we're making.
Yeah.
Right. So if we say, sometimes we don't exactly follow the actual order of the rules, so the parse might be different or something like that, that could be fine. But if it's just wrong with no explanation, that's not good.
Yeah.
And sometimes that happens in the current docs.
Yeah, it's a large project that always happens like at some scale,
Right.
and there's some ways to manage that.
Yeah. So for the current step, what I would like to do is reformat all of these old style production lists so that they look like the new ones, so that when we then go and actually replace them, users won't see anything, right? So the current little detour or step in the process is overriding Sphinx's production list directive. So this one, the old one, to make it look like this, right? It'll still have the weird alignment, right? So we'll probably keep the extra spaces here and everywhere, but we do want the one colon, otherwise it would be confusing to users, right? And after that we can go through the docs and make everything better, and usually that will hopefully that will be seamless for the users.
And that new line here, like those new line capitalized keywords.
Where do you see that?
Previous tab.
Which one was that? Oh, this one. Oh, the new line. That's a token.
Yeah. I think. Has it been used before? Or just.
Yes.
Nowhere. Oh yeah. Okay. It just must have forgotten. Okay.
Right. So new line is a token. It's actually documented in lexical analysis, which uses. She also uses this form of grammar in a slightly different way. Oh, here it is. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, new line. It would be great to link that, but that's for the future.
Yeah.
And we'll actually have ways to link it because we're so the current Sphinx directive doesn't really allow us to do much except create links to the same kind of to rules inside the same grammar. But whatever we came up here, which is a bit complicated, basically lets us parse the content and do whatever we want. And so currently it's identifiers in back quotes, and then there's strings in quotes, which well, we can't see it right now, but those will be syntax highlighted as strings. And we can later link tokens as well. Shouldn't be a problem. But right now the task is we have the grammar snippet directive. We started doing this compatibility production list, which has the name production list, which is the one Sphinx uses.
That's the productions.
Yeah, so the new one is grammar snippet, the old one is production list. They need a different name. So here we're adding production list with override equals true, and hoping that Sphinx would use this for a production list, but it doesn't. And I don't know why.
Okay.
So that's the
maybe
the current problem.
Maybe it encapsulates the production list directive somewhere like deeper, and this directive, even though it's overridden, maybe it's only for the user space. I need to check the API of this library.
Of Sphinx, right?
Yeah. I mean strings. Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
technically it's a library here. when it's like here.
right.
It's an app,
So
but it's a library. Hmm.
uh, we can check that.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think what I'd do is check the add directive method maybe,
yeah,
and try to see what it does. Mm, That's what I would do probably.
Sphinx
I mean,
add
first
directive.
time seeing this.
That's this one. Oh, name of the directive, directive class, override. Right, so I think we're doing everything correctly.
There was application API, maybe that's somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, this is the application API. For more details, see DocUtils docs. So this says register directive. It's a slightly different API. Sorry, I'm a bit sick.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Well, I think we're doing everything correctly because this approach, like add directive, definitely works for grammar snippet. It also works for other stuff Python does, which is these version added, version changed. So these are originally native Sphinx directives, but we changed them so that if you do version added next, it'll expand the next into the next Python version.
Okay.
I don't know if
I want to check the source. That's what I usually do. It tends to answer my questions quicker than the documentation very often.
yeah.
Port Sphinx. No. I guess it is. Yeah, application. Sphinx, a directive. And as I see in this implementation, it uses docutils and calls register directive. Register directive calls
So
another function.
are you
Okay.
looking
Okay.
in the source for add directive?
I'm looking for yeah, and then it just wraps docutils, and docutils what it does, it changes a global registry underscore directives, and underscore directives is caching everything here, and what I also see is okay, mapping of directive name to module name class name, and there is production list here anywhere. No, I don't see anything like that.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's look into Sphinx source code, right?
Yeah.
Latest one. So add directive obviously is used a lot. So maybe we want to use.
Maybe let's check where Sphinx implements
Production list, right?
Yeah.
So there's some tests. There's some
because you showed me the version added. You showed me the version added directive, and it is actually in a global registry. Wait a sec. Register directive.
That's this one.
Oh, actually, it's not. Okay. Something else.
Ah, there's the standard domain.
Oh yeah. And what I saw in the API here is that you have add directive and add directive to domain, and maybe what you can do is add this new directive to the domain and then set the override to true. So there's a domain and there's add directive to domain, so you can add to the domain.
Right, that sounds reasonable. So how does this change? There's the domain, and there's name, class, and override, which should be the same as for add directive, right? Okay. Okay. That sounds promising. Now, before I change anything, let me save top level components, so that Sphinx thinks it has changed. There we go. There we go. Warning, treated as error. Production list, maximum 1 arguments allowed, force applied. Perfect! It has been registered, it's just buggy.
Yeah, it worked. It kind of worked. It was cold, so it worked, kind of. Yeah.
So now we need to do... Well, I guess the easiest thing to do is to look how production list is defined, right? Hopefully it's not a subclass of something. Oh, there we go. Has content false, 1 required argument, and final argument white space is false. So apparently everything in this directive is treated as arguments rather than content, which is the reason we can't add options to production list, which would be perfect for us. It's something we probably want for the auto-generated ones at least. So the API will be a bit different with the... Oh, you can see that here. This is the production list, a grammar snippet. I moved the Python grammar group to an option, and there will be more options later. And then, like any other Sphinx, or like any other restructured text directive, there's an empty line and then the content. Production list just treats everything as an argument. Right, so this is nice. This is a good definition. Let's steal that. Has content false, blah blah blah. Option spec is empty. Yeah, we don't need this thing anymore. And then the group. Yeah, we need to. I guess we need to separate the argument. So what are we doing here? Content of production list is actually the first and only argument. First line is the group, the rest is the content lines. Right, so group and content. Let's use the partition method here. Do you know about the partition method?
Of course.
Great.
Partition is pretty useful, yeah. Yep. I think I first learned about partition when I was reading the code of Jarako's IRC library, and he used partition to parse. To help parsing the strings of clients involved in an IRC channel. So
wow.
yeah, pretty cool find back then.
Yep. Very useful function. So let's see how far Sphinx will get. I think it got past the previous error, which is also always good. And there we go. How will this look? Ha ha ha! We got a nothing. Everywhere there's nothing at all. Let's see what's inside the nothing. Yep, nothing. Alright. What
Whoa.
does that mean? So we... Oh, I'm setting the content to self-content. Whoops! I should have deleted that. So once more.
It was pretty funny to see a summary and then an empty block right below it.
Alright, let's see how it looks now. Ah, there we go. Nice. We should probably split the lines instead of giving it as one string, which gets split into characters. But the content is there. Alright, so partition might not be the best thing here. Let's do lines equals self-arguments split lines, and then the group will be the first line stripped. Let's keep this variable name, that's nice. And then the content will be the lines after that, right?
Yeah, by default, split lines doesn't keep ends, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we want, right? So content, and here self-content goes to this make snippet function, which has all the logic common to both of the classes. And what we do there is we iterate it, so it just needs to be iterable. And we do add new lines at the end of each line. So we don't want to add them here. Yeah, whether something keeps new lines or not is a bit confusing in Python, but split lines should remove them by default. Okay. Nice. There we go. So this is pretty much what we wanted to see. This got rid of the links, which is because it's because Sphinx didn't regenerate all of the dogs. So the one bad thing about developing Sphinx extensions like this is Sphinx has a cache, so it won't rebuild anything unless it thinks the document change, right? If I change the extension only,
Oh yeah, I see.
it'll be cached. So
but how does it recognize the files? But because I guess it's using some kind of live reloader. So maybe if you hint the reloader that it should also watch for the extension files, then maybe it could.
Yeah, but it also needs. I would also need to save the individual files since it looks at the modification time.
Yeah, I mean, what it does is stat those files, right?
Yes.
And just check the last modification date.
Right, for each file individually.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
Usually reading the restructured text is pretty fast, and writing is what's slow. And apparently, it writes the output every time, even if it hasn't changed. So, all right, links are back because everything is back here. Now, the problem we have now is that single line snippets are good, but multi-line snippets keep well, they look pretty much like what is in the restructured text source, which is written with Sphinx's changes in mind, right? So what's happening here is that there should be a colon in each line, and before that colon there's the rule name, and after the column there's the content, and Sphinx will replace this colon with the colon equals and remove these, and it will also align the content to the end of the to start in the same position on each line. So we probably want to bring back some of that behavior so the docs look as they did. Let me open the current official docs. Not library, language, expressions, and where are we? Or compound segments. Alright, so this is what Sphinx does with the input. So we probably want to put the colon here, then align everything. And I don't know if this colon should be aligned with this one or put here. It's probably better to put it right here.
So what's the reason that we get those columns in the first place?
That's the syntax this currently uses. Right, okay. So that's this. What I want to do is make the output look almost exactly like the input, except for this syntax to make a link. I think that's much easier for the author to write. But the current syntax uses these colons.
Okay.
And we don't really need those.
So we want so we will need to strip those out before rendering it, right?
Yeah, we need to pre-process this. So I think every line needs a colon. So we take the maximum position of the first column. That's where we'll align things. Then we do the alignment. If there's nothing before the colon, we take the colon out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let me prepare my little command. I will want to touch this file.
And if there is something, it's just another grammar rule.
Yes.
If there's something before the colon, yeah.
Right. So let's do that.
So we could actually use partition again, or maybe
partition for each line.
Yeah.
But
and
I
then if
just want the index of the first column.
Okay.
Right. Maybe what I want to use lines here and here and create the content as I go. So if the line here I will want to do the partition. So a rule name, colon, and text, I guess, would be line dot partition. Partition on the column, I think we always use colon and one space, hopefully.
I mean, we could outstrip the text, right?
Right. So if we have a rule name, then we want to strip it. If somebody does this, we want to move the colon to the rule name.
There's a typo by the name. By the way, in partition.
Oh, thanks. We always want to strip the rule name, and if the stripped rule name is non-empty, then we add a line that goes like this. So there would be a rule name, and we colon. Then there'll be some number of spaces. And then there'll be this text. And how many spaces we want. So that will be the maximum colon position minus the length of the rule name. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There'll be a plus or minus one somewhere, but let's do it.
Actually, I think we can use. Oh wait, what was the method?
Oh, ljust.
Yes, ljust. You could use ljust. Yeah.
Or we can use f strings even.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense too. Yeah. Yeah.
And a line.
By the way, what's the minimal version that this code must support? Like, is it 3.9?
Uh, that's a good question.
Yeah, because I started wondering, like, yeah, just to know, because I guess it's 3.9 just because of the span of the versions that Sphinx supports, right?
Yeah, well,
Since you,
3.9 is the last supported version of Python.
yeah,
Well, at least
correct, yeah.
CPython supported version. Uh, so I guess we, let's say, move this out.
Mm.
So we don't have the string inside the F string. And then we put in text there. Right? So we don't need num spaces, we just use max column position.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Right?
Yeah, beautiful. Actually, I love that you can embed those two, like in the mini language, so that the alignment of fill value is dynamic. It's pretty cool.
Right. And
Yeah.
I guess we can even do this. Let's see how that works.
And well, with the new grammar for f strings, like since 3.12, you could actually insert empty, like a literal with the same
Same quotes, yeah.
Yeah, the quotes that are like the same that those that start and end the string, which is
Yeah, but I'm a bit careful. Yeah. Oh, this is the official docs. I'm a bit careful about using versions that are too new.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I like to bring this up because I'm pretty proud about that. That it like got through. It's pretty cool.
We could have used that in the auto-generating tool. Right, this is actually looking pretty good.
Oh yeah.
So compare this to
though
that. We do need to add one more space to make it perfect.
Yeah, I do think so. I do think so.
So
I mean, currently when I'm looking at it, it can be pretty much confused, maybe a little with yeah, we need one more space, and build from there. Yeah. Yeah, we actually need to add one because we started on the index of the column. That's why.
So line per column will be this plus one. It's no longer position. Well, let's see how that goes.
It's gonna be max column position plus one, right?
Yeah. Max column position plus one.
Yeah, it makes sense to name it like that. Yeah, perfect. By the way, I never saw Kate, this IDE Kate, or is it like IDE? It's just a text editor. Okay.
What's the definition?
Oh, actually, I did. Actually, I did see it. Oh, I did, but it was like a long time ago. when I think I was using I was using probably KDE. Yeah, I was using KDE Kubuntu probably.
Yeah, it's the KDE thing. So I used to use KDE,
Yeah,
and this is probably the only KDE program I still use because it's very hard to switch editors when you're used to one.
yeah. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much does almost everything I need, and none of the stuff I don't.
By the way,
Like
you
it
asked
doesn't.
about the definition of an IDE. Did you
Right?
ask about that?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a cool question to ask. Well, um, the actual meaning behind the letters IDE is integrated development environment. So what I think is that I'm seeing LSP client here in your options
Yep.
in the top toolbar, which
I don't have.
already means that there is some integrated development environment
Yeah.
involved.
It
I'm
has an
pretty much
integrated terminal that I
involved.
don't use. It has like diagnostics, so if you compile C code from here, it'll show you errors. I don't use that. What
Hmm.
I do use is custom commands, so you can, like, there's wherever you do this, external tools, right? So you can say, when I press Alt S, it runs my little Python script on the file, and Kate replaces the file with the output of the script and saves it.
Oh, okay.
Which works pretty nicely. Yeah, I mean, you can. There's a bunch of plugins that you can use. Uh, Basically, you could make it into an IDE with
Have you do you have a
everything.
debugger here?
No, I'm too used to the command line debuggers to
Oh, me too. Yeah,
use
me
a
too.
graphical one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm more likely to use breakpoint or some kind of like PDB or something else,
Yeah,
depends on the use case, and then
especially
actually hit those breakpoints.
if I'm debugging code that's part Python and part C. Uh,
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's, it's hard to get support for
Hard
that.
to imagine. Hard to imagine using a graphical debugger for that. Yeah.
This looks perfect.
Do you have like two screens? Because sometimes you're like referring to something, and I think like you're not displaying it, or
Oh
just
yeah,
me.
when I move my mouse outside, it's to switch windows since my uh, task list is on another screen, and I
Yeah, it looks
also
pretty nice.
have like the Discord and the YouTube streaming on other screens,
Hmm.
but not any kind of documentation stuff like that. Yeah, it's so I think with GNOME you're supposed to switch windows like this, which is really noisy when you're on a stream, right? It's really distracting. So I switch with an external window list on another monitor.
Hmm.
Right. So thanks for the digression. That was great. I think we're there, right? So try statement. This looks nice. Uh, with statement. So I would like to see this in the original. It also has a scroll bar. Nice. So basically the only thing that changed here is the colons get moved here. And we also have syntax highlighted strings.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Right, so you can see what's like metagrammar symbol and what's actually a string. Uh, so linked properly. Yeah, so I like to go through all the docs whenever there's a big change, just to see if anything jumps at me as being weird. But I think we're done here. Let me look at function definitions in the original. Yeah, it's also scrolls. I think it's already a bit more readable. Let me use the same
Yeah,
zoom.
it is, definitely. Definitely it is. I really like that. I mean, I do think that the grammar snippets, or whatever we call them, production lists, I think they're pretty useful, and I like to go back to them because they can teach us a lot if read correctly. For instance, like not
Yeah.
many people know that you can use the target as the target of a for loop.
Oh.
So when I show them, yeah, so they only think you can use identifiers there. So or a list of identifiers. But when I show them like, hey, it can be whatever is on the left side of an assignment, they are like, wow! So you can just make an entire like to a dictionary. You can assign to a dictionary, and every iteration will call set item on the dictionary. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
So yeah, it's pretty useful to have those snippets around.
Right, so I think we're done. So let me do a full rebuild here and check all the other parts of the docs where this was changed. And then we can commit this and start writing a pull an issue and a pull request. We're done here. No, this looks done. So this looks good.
Can I have a little off-topic question also?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pull request in Python repo. It's 76377, which has this title: "Rewrite plist lib with functional style." It's one of the most beautiful pull requests I have seen in my life. And
what's the number?
76377.
Wow, that's an old one.
Yeah, it's an old one. And like, if you look at the plist lib where it is now, I don't like the code much. I mean, I'm not the one to judge, but
what is plist lib anyway?
Well, you have these like plist files on Apple computers. And
okay.
plist means property list, and it's just for settings mainly, and it's a file format. And yeah, and Sergey rewrote that to functional style, and it also offers a bunch of improvements. And yeah, I do think that it really improved not only the performance but also the code quality. They can see here durability and maintainability and all sorts of stuff. So I'm wondering if we can like bring it back to actually get someone's attention to it, because it was never really I think reviewed thoroughly. And I think it deserves it. Yeah. Yeah, even my comments here. And yeah, my questions here. Yeah. So it's a beautiful pull request.
The problem with such rewrites is that it's really easy to introduce
Risky.
bugs.
Yeah,
It's
regressions.
even
Yeah, I get it.
easier to introduce regressions that aren't really bugs, but if somebody's relying on some weird little feature of a 20-year-old code, uh,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah, I get it.
it's not good if that code breaks after 20 years, right?
Yeah,
And the original
yeah,
maintainer will not be around, and so on. So, does this fix any bugs? It's speeds things up 2 times. That's interesting, but
yeah.
I mean, how much time does it take to? It's settings, right? So you do it once per
Okay, that's an essential
application
question.
load,
Like,
right?
is it really necessary? Yeah, okay, makes sense. Makes sense.
So it doesn't seem necessary, and
Yeah,
therefore,
yeah.
I mean, if I review it and there's a bug in it, I'm on the hook for fixing the bug and maintaining this and stuff like that. So so it's not a priority for me. But
Yeah, I get it.
I do
Yeah.
have office hours like this, so uh, if you want to, we can like take some time to look at this in one of these sessions.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I'd like to get the pull request up. I think there's still time to do that. Let me just quickly look at all of these.
So yeah, it's great. We could come back to that in some other time. Hmm.
Oh, lexical
All right, I'll
analysis.
be back later, in like 10 minutes probably,
Right. Good.
just in case.
Oh, you just left, didn't you? I want to credit you as a co-author. And I guess this is your username.
Or actually, I am here still, but like, I muted myself. Yeah.
So is it okay to put this email in a git commit for eternity?
Let me check. Can I say it again, please?
Can I put your email in?
Yeah.
Like
It could be it could be it. And my username, yeah. My username and this, yeah.
So it's your real name, right?
Yeah. My real name. Thanks, by the way, for the co-author.
No problem. So this is somehow complete the production
BSWCK. Yeah, BSWCK. Username will suffice. Just username will suffice here. Yeah, BSWCK. Oh, okay.
Yeah, let me copy that because I don't know the English letter names by heart. Right, BSWCK.
For co-authors, I mainly use my username, but maybe it doesn't matter here. Maybe, like...
Whatever you prefer. I don't care.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I was starting to write something in the pull request title that I should probably put in here, right?
Yeah, so be back later. In like 10 minutes.
you. Move this class up here. time to push this to GitHub. And the hard part now will be creating the issue and the pull request, because we need to convince people that this is actually a good change. And I'm not convinced it's a good change on its own. But it's a good first step toward making things better. So the issue will need to describe what we want to do afterwards, which is go through the entire document, like the entire part of documentation that has these grammar snippets, and well, improve it, make it look more like the actual grammar, and so on. And then this technical part is a necessary, well, almost necessary first step for that. So let's see. Create a new issue. Documentation. Report a problem in the documentation. Well, it's not really a problem. Do we have any existing documentation issues for the grammar? String docs update. We should fix that. Function definition grammar is incorrect. Stuff is unclear. Improve grammar description for the match statement. And so on. There's a lot of issues saying that the docs aren't really correct.
That's actually pretty worrying.
Well, I mean, that's bound to happen if you maintain this by hand. So let me just link this whole text in the new issue. And I probably want to draft it in the editor. Right. So, how to start? I think I have writer's block. The current of documentation of Python syntax, that is later chapters of the reference, which is this. Uses hand maintained introduction lists. For example, let's pick a nice one. Probably compound statement will be this one. Right. Let's see, where can we find the actual grammar? I like to add links to everything I write. So the grammar would be in grammar Python gram. So now I probably want to say that I wrote such a tool, and it's in this branch. Where is this? Probably want to look at what was touched. Docs generator.py, right? Generator. Docs generator.py. Then I guess me writing text is pretty boring, and I can't really write and talk at the same time. So if you have any comments or spot any typos, or if you
Oh yeah, yeah.
if you'd word something
Mm-hmm.
differently, feel free to
Actually,
tell
I'm
me.
currently also doing something. I'm correcting a contract that
Ooh,
I'm about to sign. So
have fun.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't like that I have to do it, but like, it's always safer to like communicate that I want something to be included than uh, signing something and then trying to like, yeah, execute that. Or, I mean, there's a slippery slope between like trust and like something that's written on the paper.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I put in this one is compound statement here. I want to use compound statement here as well.
right. So I'm gonna unfortunately have to wait before signing the contract because they'll need to answer my my question. If you can include one little note, one little clause.
All right, so I wrote something. Let me know if it makes sense. Oh, I want to add an image. It's this one, for example.
Actually, in this snippet here, in point C, you're showing it like being wrapped. So like.
Yeah. So this is the ideal form that we're not doing yet.
Oh.
Right. So in this pull request, we'll be going from the Sphinx to this. And then ideally we want to get here, but the problem is that I want to do this while improving the documentation itself, and that'll take a while. So we'll have this style and this style coexist in the same version of the documentation, right? So we want these two to be similar enough that it's okay to have them coexist. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, but this should I should probably line wrap this better, right? For GitHub. And I don't know how to line wrap, so I'll do it manually. More readable. I'm used to writing actual markdown where the line wrapping doesn't matter. I've never learned the way to do this, like in a smart editor or something. This looks good. Right, so the current documentation of the Python syntax, the later chapters of the language reference, uses hand-maintained production lists like this. There's no mechanism to ensure that these are in sync with the actual grammar, and they inevitably do get out of sync. See some of the docs issues mentioning grammar.
Oh, by the way, just for the sake of the like people in 100 years, like there's a link that you're including above, like in the text, around like to your repo. It is like in the right tab, like the proof of concept link. Maybe it is worth it to actually make it a permalink, just in case.
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, I don't delete branches from my repo.
Oh, okay.
So as long as GitHub is up, this should stay there. and I do intend to use a different branch for the next attempt. So like if there's a typo or something in here, we can fix it.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, beautiful English, no typos. Yeah.
So from the existing source, we can get this. Sphinx hard codes the production list formatting. We'll need to override the production list directive to achieve this. And by changing the restructured text and using a different directive, we can get to something like this. Propose to go from A to B at once by overriding production list, and from B to C gradually, while also updating the content, including changing rule names to match the grammar and adjusting and reorganizing name by prose. I think I should probably write I think, right? Instead of IMO. I always use these. Internet abbreviations that aren't really necessary. I think that the B to B and C styles are similar enough that mixing them in a single version of the docs should not be jarring. By the way, one additional benefit of a custom directive is that we can add syntax highlighting, ideally with support from the theme. I think that making strings stand out makes the listings more readable. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So should this be the issue to move the grammar documentation, or to what should be the issue name? Should probably be a single issue both for this technical step and then for the individual changes to the docs themselves. So something like so I do this for the issue, and then for the first pull request, that's just the technical part. Does that make sense? Let's do a quick review here. I'll probably want to rebase this on top of main. Hopefully nothing changed. Hopefully I can still build the documentation with this. And meanwhile I can look at the diff to origin/main. So what does this change? There's a new extension called grammar snippet. There's 2 examples just to make just as examples. There's this grammar snippet extension. I think that's reviewed. It's been reviewed, and we don't need to monkey patch the token regular expression anymore because we allow anything in group names. By the way, has this issue been fixed? Oh, it has. January, nice. There's some rough parts to this pull request, but I think it's fine. And the documentation can be rebuilt with this version, and it still looks fine. Right. Okay. So there we go. Submit issue. And also submit the pull request. How do you submit a pull request from a branch that has been already pushed? I think I need to go to new pull request here. Compare across forks. Use my repo. Use my branch, which I forgot the name of. No grammar snippets. There it is. So I need to reference the issue. snippet. So what else is here to add? We can link to the grammar file. Right, now let's see what people think. And there's half a minute left of the allotted time for this, so just in time. Hopefully this was interesting.
Oh yeah.
Next time.
Alex mentioned here.
Excuse me?
Wow. Alex mentioned.
Hopefully he's the correct person.
No, I mean like I've seen Alex a lot of times in various places.
Oh no, I meant Adam. I'm really bad with people. That's the Sphinx person. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah. My bad. Hopefully that'll send the correct notification. Sorry, Alex, if you see this. And I think I'll need to ping Adam separately.
I mean, you can edit and it'll get pinged anyway.
Yeah, I did edit. Yeah. That's the Sphinx person. I don't know why I slipped. I guess 2 hours of a stream is too much to keep concentration. Anyway, so next week, if it's not too much Christmas to so that we don't meet, I don't know what we'll do. If there is some feedback on this, then iterate on the feedback. I see there's a linter issue. Apparently we need to run rough on dock. How do you run rough? Can you fix format? And I changed one file. Okay. I don't like this change, but there's nothing I can do with an auto formatter. Okay. Anyway, so next week we can either iterate on feedback. If you have any questions or you want, there's a pull request to look at, we can do that.
All right, great. Great.
And
yeah, rough stuff.
This
actually it's you may use pre-commit because it's run through pre-commit, as I can see here. Pre-commit run.
Yeah, the problem with pre-commit is that it downloads some stuff from the internet that I haven't really checked, and I'm not sure who has access.
Now that's a very mature approach. I actually
I don't know who has access to the code, and probably don't. What changed? Oh, I didn't push after the rebase. Well, it's too late now. Okay, I'll need to fix some git gotcha. Merge main. And then cherry pick the latest commit, which aspirates somewhere here.
Actually, if the next stream is 15 UTC,
Yep.
all right, that'll be for 4 p.m. CET.
Yep.
If I understood correctly, then actually I'll be working. +8. I'll be at work, so yeah, probably won't be able to attend then because I'm ending my work 1 hour after 4 p.m.
Okay, so you can join for the second hour.
Yeah.
Or we can just skip the first hour if nobody else joins.
Oh, okay, that'll be pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Actually, I'm not sure how long it will take for me to travel back to the hostel where I'll be staying. So yeah, because it's an onboarding that takes a week in a different city. Yeah, I guess that's the best time for me will be 5 p.m. probably, if that's not too late for you, and if nobody joins, of course. And someone joins, then I'll be like, maybe I'll stick around, like in the final moments of the stream, the conclusion moments. Yeah. Yeah, but it was very nice, by the way. Yeah, and I'm happy to join every week.
All right, I'll see you next week then, hopefully. After that, it's Christmas Day, so and after that, it's January the 1st. So if we don't see each other, Happy New Year.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's very possible that we'll not see each other on the first on the 1st of January, because that's gonna be a busy day, very likely. Yeah, day busy of partying and stuff. And year after year after year after year goes by.
Yeah, I'm just fixing rough failures right now, so I don't think that's...
Oh, the unused variable. Actually, one thing that always intrigues me about partition is when can the separator be useful, like a variable that we get. Maybe I need to read.
It's very useful to check if there was a split or not.
Oh,
if
right.
There's something in here, then you
yeah.
had a split. Otherwise, all of the original is in the first.
Oh, right. Makes sense. Okay.
I don't know if you can pass a tuple to partition. So some of the string methods can take a tuple and then they find the first one. I don't know if you can do that with partitions.
I think you cannot. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we cannot.
Well, somebody could add that.
Yeah.
But yeah, to check if a split happened, it's quite useful, because you can have the original end with the separator, and that's then you can't really see if one of them is empty to check.
Yeah, that's pretty smart, and also, I love partition for stability.
Also, if you change one of the parts and then want to reconstruct the text, You don't need to
Mhm.
repeat this. You just use the named variable. It's a bit cleaner.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. True.
Well, it looks like Gruff is happy. We'll see how this goes. Alright, see you sometime in the future.
Yeah, see you, definitely. I mean,
Thanks for watching.
I'll try to be next week, and I'll definitely stick around if I have some time. Or if it starts late, then I'll definitely be there. Yeah.
Alrighty.
So,